dear. It's Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. I'm somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. That has to change. I can't keep living like that. And the only way that's going to change is if I create a budget and stick to a budget. I can't wish it away. I have spent a lifetime wishing it would be better, and it just hasn't happened. So it's time to make an actual plan and do some actual work to make that happen. I created this budget to give myself the best opportunity I can to create a more positive financial future for myself. I created this channel just to share the journey with others. When we are in a situation that feels unpleasant, exhausting, overwhelming, it can feel very isolating, and we can feel like we're the only person who's going through what we're going through. And the fact is, we're not. I am not the only person on the entire planet who's living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not the only person on the entire planet who one life event causes them to be in financial crisis. I'm not. And so I've created this journey so that those of you who are in the same boat can feel a little less alone with where you're at. I could certainly do this budgeting all by my lonesome and not share it with a single soul. And I would still get eventually into a brighter place. And lots of us do, and that's fine. I just wanted to share this journey because I know misery loves company. When we know somebody else is going through a similar thing, when we can see what they've done, when we can see their battles, suddenly we don't feel so isolated, suddenly we don't feel so alone. So I have created this channel to share that journey with anybody who might be interested in following along. Today, I'm going to go over my October monthly setup. And when I set up my entire month, I have to start with my calendar and then move into writing out an overview estimate. I need to know what's getting paid on what date so I can tell what pay period that's falling within. I get paid every other Friday, and my rent is due on the first of the month. I need to know which paycheck is going to cover my rent, right? That's how my month starts out. And then I need to know what other bills are going to get paid in that paycheck and in the other paycheck. And sometimes I'm lucky, like I am this month, where it's only the rent on one pay period and it's all of the other things on another pay period. But sometimes things don't line up quite so nicely, and I'll have to cover another bill in the same pay period as my rent. And so I need to know that going into my budget so that I can figure out all of the other things around that. So that's where I start. I get paid every other Friday in the month of October. That is September 22nd and October 6th is my pay date. My month of October ends on the 19th, and my month of November starts on the 20th of October. So I don't line up at all at this point with what the calendar months are. And that's just the way that has to be for me. So let's look at this. I get paid on the 22nd of September. My rent is due on the 1st of October. That's the only bill that I have that's due in the entire first pay period. Now, when I colored in these colors, you'll notice they don't actually coincide with pay dates. This is the month of September, when the month of September ends and the month of October starts. I just needed that visual for myself because these don't line up with calendar months. I need to know where those calendar months really are, just for my own sake. So the first pay period, my only bill is my rent. Then in the second pay period, again, I get paid on the 6th. I have a student loan that's due on the 9th for $69.74. I have a credit card for $200 that's due on the 15th. I have a subscription for $10.82 that's due on the 16th. I have a phone bill for $186.50 on the 17th, And I have my what I call old rent listed here on the 18th. That's $73.60. This is the only one that doesn't have an actual due date. And they would like me to commit to an actual due date. But for this one, if I commit to credit card withdrawals, it's going to be an extra $13.95 charged by their card processing provider. I don't have the extra $13.95 just to have my card processed. If I had an extra $13.95, I'd like that to go towards the actual bill and not to the service provider. The way I'm able to get around that for this particular provider is to pay for a money order and mail that in and not have a date. That does mean they're calling me every single month to find out when the payment's coming. But that's how those bills look as we set up my calendar. And this is the information I need to now go and set up my actual monthly budget. And I just want to see where I am in the alignment in my camera. So bear with me because I can't see the camera from where I'm at when I'm standing here talking to you guys. So let's go see what this estimate looks like for me. When I set up my estimate, whether that's my monthly setup or each paycheck setup, they all start the same. I am an hourly, not salaried employee, and I work full-time. So for my company, full-time is anywhere between 32 and 40 hours a week. I currently am pushing the 40-hour-a-week mark. I have been at times in the past closer to the 32 hours a week mark. So right now, I estimate that I'm getting 38 hours a week when I set up my estimates. So I estimate my hourly wage, $20.85 an hour, times 38 hours a week, times 4 weeks in this pay cycle. And I take away 25% for taxes and insurance. That leaves me with a wage estimate of $2,376.90. To me, $2,000 sounds like a lot of money. It really does. I have been so broke my entire life. $2,000, if I had that sitting in my hand, I would feel so rich. $2,000 is a huge amount of money. Turns out in actuality, it's not much money, and it's gone very, very quickly. So that's what we're working with. Mainly this budget, this channel, this stuff I'm going through is changing how I think about money and basically how I think about money in all of the different ways. And so even though $2,000 sounds like a lot of money in my head, it's really not. How can I get $2,000 not in my hand, but in savings? How can I get, let's add some zeros to that. How can I get $20,000 in savings? It's just not as much money as my brain wants it to be. In my income, I do give myself this category for this line for other. I don't consistently have other, but it's there for anytime something were to show up as a one-off, whether that's expected or unexpectedly. I don't have a second job. I don't get child support. I don't have investments or annuities. I don't have anything that would consistently have a second line in my income. But sometimes birthday money, Christmas money, taxes will show up. Sometimes I have given money outside that comes back in. You know, I'm going to loan you this amount of money. You're going to pay me back. When you pay me back, that's going to show up there. So that is estimated to be zero for this month. So my total income is expected to be, again, $2,376.90. The next thing I go over is my fixed expenses. These are my bills, the things I have to pay whether I like it or not. I don't have a choice in what those fees are, what those rates are, whether I pay it or not. I'm required. So my first expense, we just went over all of these here, so it's going to look really, really the same thing. Rent for $853. Again, my rent is $850, and I do have a $3 service fee for the provider who does the automatic withdrawal for that company. I have my utilities. They're estimated to be $180. I am finally at actually 100% completely caught up. And I'm currently sitting at a zero balance in my utilities. This is the first time in the entire amount of budgeting I've been doing with you just since May that I've actually been completely caught up and making an estimate, because I really don't know what next month is going to look like. This is a tiny bit more than what my actual was last month. And as we head into winter, I do expect this bill to continue to get higher as we're needing to start using the heat. But for right now, $180 is what I have estimated for the utilities. Then my phone bill is $186.50. This is 2 phone lines, 1 tablet, and the internet. And it does have Netflix on it. So I did cancel the insurance that I had on 1 phone and 1 tablet, which dropped the phone bill by about $30. And then I was finally caught up enough to actually get this set up on auto pay, which took $5 off of each of those lines for a total of $20 for the month, or for in the billing. So my phone bill is now $186.50. We do use that Netflix very consistently. We're not going to be taking that off now in order to save ourselves that $6.50. And in fact, we also have Paramount Plus on the phone line, which is currently free, but is going to be being charged starting very soon. And we've discussed that, and we're going to keep that Paramount Plus as well. So expect that this will go up. I know the phone bill is something people hear my total and are, there's lots of cheaper places out there. I may get to a point where I look at those cheaper places, but I'm not there yet. And honestly, if I were to leave right now, the phone and the second phone and the tablet are both free phones. And I say that in air quotes because they are still in financing, and then I get rebates that covers that financing. And so if I were to switch providers right now, I would then owe the full amount for that second phone and for that tablet. And so choosing a different provider doesn't make a whole lot of sense at this time, but is something I hear you guys, and I hear you talking to me about other providers and ways to get that cheaper. And that is something that at some point in the future I will begin exploring. I'm just not there yet with that. I have a credit card for $200. This is not a current credit card. This is one that unfortunately got maxed out and closed, and I'm now paying that off. That should be done by February. I have a subscription for $10.82. That was a yearly subscription I signed up for, that to be charged every month. I don't know if I'm going to be renewing that when the renewal time comes up, but for right now, I'm glad to have that. And I have what I call old rent. This is fees related to moving out, repair fees, cleaning fees. $709 was the bill I got for that. That was set up in a 10-month payment plan for $70.94 for 10 months. And then I have a $2 money order fee and a 66-cent stamp fee to get that paid. So that's the $73.60. Then I have my first ever student loan payment at $69.74. Eventually, I will begin paying more on this. And I don't know if eventually is going to be next month or in 2 years. But I will begin making extra payments to this so that I can hurry up and get this paid down. I don't want to be paying student loans for 10 years. And I don't want to be giving them the amount of interest I would be earning or giving them to be paying that for 10 years. But I don't have it yet to increase that just yet. And then I do have this other line in my bills. This is to cover a couple of different things. This is a new addition to my overviews here. I do a house share, and we do sometimes borrow and repay each other for various different things. And that's fine. That's how we've set it up, and I'm okay with that. But I did not have a way to show the leaving and coming back that happens in my actual income here on this paper and with you guys on video. So I now have that line to show that. This is also for if I were to receive a bill in the mail that I was unaware of, when I set this budget up. I do have a spot in here now where I could fit that in and don't have to wait until next month to give it its own separate line item. So for my fixed expenses, $1,573.66. That is a huge amount of my income going out to fixed expenses. I do need to continue working on shrinking that. This is far too much going out in bills. I will be working on seeing what I can get paid off sooner here, and some of those will be falling off in the next few months, just as the natural course of things. Then we go over my flexible spending. For me, this is groceries, dining out, transportation, art, and miscellaneous. This is the area that I have the most control over and the area that I can do the most damage to myself with. With groceries, I can choose to go to a Whole Foods all organic type place, or I can choose to go to a discount grocer. And that's going to have an impact on how much how much I spend. And if I overspend here, then I won't have the money I need to pay up here. So I have to be very aware on a week by week basis of what's going on in here in order to really make some changes for myself. So for my groceries this week, I've given myself an estimate of $125 a week. This is a tiny bit less than I had given myself last month. Last month I gave myself $140 a week. I do feel like $140 a week is really what's realistic for me. So I did dial it back a little bit. I'm going to have to be a little bit extra careful this month. But I did that because of what I want to get in some of my other flexible spending here. So let's keep going. I gave myself again $0 in my dining out budget this month. I don't really think I'm going to be able to go another solid 4 weeks without dining out. If I do, hallelujah. But if at some point I do end up going out during this month, I'm not going to be upset that I'm in the red. To me, the red and the green, it's just another color. It's not a problem, and I'm not going to beat myself up over those colors. But I had other priorities for what I wanted to do with the money I knew I had this month, and I didn't want to prioritize that to dining out. I just have other things that I want more for sure than I want a cheeseburger and fries, you know? Transportation, I have reduced this a little bit. I'm giving myself $100 for the month, $50 per pay period. I had been giving myself an estimate of filling up once a week, and I have not ever used the full amount of my estimate here. So I've dropped this by about $60 this month, and we'll see if that's still too much, if I need to drop it next month or the month after. In my art, I have given myself $0. The project I have picked this month, I've actually picked 3 projects this month. They're all very small, and I think I can get them done very quickly, and it's just time to get them moved off my list. I had originally picked a different project, and I really feel like my original project needs a 6-week month, and so I did go ahead and decide to put that off. I'd actually filmed this whole video with that as my project and decided I wasn't going to do that. So here we are starting again. Miscellaneous. This is where I wanted to do some extra spending that caused me to take a little bit out of my grocery budget. I have $216.36 in my miscellaneous budget. First of all, how great that I finally have money that I can put in my estimate in this budget. This is for some shelving in this very weird shaped pantry I have in my kitchen. As you may or may not be aware, I did finally get my possessions shipped to me from across the country, and I am in the process of unpacking. First of all, I have a lot of things, but I have a lot of things for my kitchen, and this kitchen does not have much in the way of storage and or counter space, if they're being honest. But I do have this very long, narrow room, closet situation in the kitchen that could be a fairly decent pantry. It's under the eaves in the house, So I have a taller side and a shorter side in that closet. And again, it's very long and narrow. So it doesn't really lend itself well to just stacking things up, because you could very easily not get to the things behind it because of how narrow that is. So I want to get some shelves. And what I want is, essentially, I want 2 tall shelves and 2 short shelves that are on wheels. Essentially like a wire, I don't know, baker's rack's not the right word. Maybe like a room service cart, but all wire. So the 2 tall racks, I want all of the shelving to be on the taller side and have a narrow walkway that we can walk through on the narrow side. I want a tall shelf, and then this cart on wheels, and then a tall shelf, and then the cart on wheels at the back facing that direction. My idea is that I can take a shelf, a single shelf from the 2 tall ones, and then have them over that basket. So like if I get a 6 shelf tall thing, then I can have 5 on this one, 5 on the other one, and that 6th shelf can go over that basket, basically holding those 2 independent shelving units together. And then underneath that, I can have that wheelie cart, and then at the other end also that wheelie cart. And then I can have things like my canning supplies all on one wheelie cart and bring that out in a single motion instead of having to go back and forth to get all of those things. I priced some things out kind of with that in mind and with the space in mind. And so this is, I think, it's been a while since I actually set up this budget and did that math, but I'm pretty sure this is 1 tall shelf for $109 and 1 short shelf with the wheels. And then I would do that again the next month. But that's what I want to do. Also, I need to get pants. I can't keep going without pants. And so I have to get those. So we'll see. This is what this is. Those shelves and some pants, $216.36, which makes my total flexible spending estimate $816.36 for this month. Then as we carry out the ending balances to see what my final total is, my wages, or my income again, $2,376.90. Fixed expenses, $1,573.66. Flexible spending at $816.36, leaving me at the end of the month in the red, negative $13.12. At this point, as I set up my monthly overviews, I have very consistently been finishing out a little bit red here. Yeah, that does show up there. This isn't how I want to carry things going forward, right? I'm trying to set this budget up so I can start saving. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting there. I will not get my account overdrawn. I do have roughly $25 that is carryover from the month of September. That's already in my account and will be part of this month. I do also slightly underestimate my income. So far, I've been fairly good about underestimating that. I give myself 38 hours as my estimate, but most weeks I go, 38.75, 39.2. So just a teeny tiny bit over. So that should be eating up this negative $13.12 from both of those. But if not, my groceries budget is likely where things will be sacrificed. I need to know that going into things, that I'm probably going to have to be very, very careful. Because if I'm not paying attention to this and I do overspend in this category, then I no longer have the money to spend here. And that's a problem. So that's what these budgets are here to prevent. So that is how I finish out setting up my budget for my October. And if you're only here for the budgeting portion, thank you for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you next time. But because I find budgeting to be very discouraging and very negative, And I knew I needed to bring something positive into this, or I wasn't going to be able to stick with it long term. I chose to bring my art into the background of the screen that you're seeing and into the back end of my videos. And so that's where we're at now. As we set up the month of October, I'm going to go over the project. Typically it's one project that I'm working on for the month. But for this month, I have 3 set aside. And the reason I have 3 set aside is because they're going to be fairly fast projects, I think. And, you know, if the third project really is kind of a push. If I don't get to that, it's fine. Again, I had picked something different initially, and it's going to take longer than the 4 weeks I have. So that'll be another time. So real quickly, I'm just going to go over those projects without a whole lot of detail. We'll get into the detail as we get into the videos where I'm actually working on them. But this is project number 1. This is just a single block that is going to be quilted all on its own. And this I had bundled up with all of the things that go with it. I keep everything in a plastic bag until the project is complete. So I have this. I have a possible backing. I have my batting. I have the scraps that are left. These are all of the pieces of fabric I used with that. This is the very first project I'm working on. I feel like this will be fairly quick, 1 or 2 sessions, and this is over and done with. So this is probably not going to spend a whole lot of time in front of the camera. Now, I finished out my September project significantly sooner than the month was done, or at least significantly sooner than my videoing was done. And I didn't like that I had nothing else to talk about. So this is a fast project. There's no reason this project shouldn't be done already. It should have been done. All of these should have been done years ago. So that's project number 1. We'll talk more about it as we get into that. The only thing I'm going to say here and now about this one, let me bring that back into camera view. Obviously, this is another twister, just like my last month's project was, right? This is the tool I used last month. It's a little bit bigger. This is the tool that got used for this one. It's significantly smaller, and that's all. I just wanted to show you the difference in the tool. There's several different sizes. This one here is the second project I ever did using this tool. My first project was with a bigger tool. It's a much bigger project and was so much fun. I wanted to immediately do another one. So this second project, and then I bought the tool. So that's what that is. We'll talk more about why this came to be when we get into that in the next couple of videos. Then this is the second project I have. This is a project that was given to me in its current state by somebody else who had decided they weren't going to be working on it. And so once we finish that first project, then we have this as project number 2. This particular person took this to learn the technique and decided she didn't like how stiff it turned out, and she didn't have any small children in her life, and she wasn't likely to be putting this up for decoration. So she learned the technique. She'd gotten everything she needed out of that, and it was just sitting for her. I will be blanket stitching around the edges of this and then quilting this piece together. And again, this came to me stored with this. I thought this was a backing. It's not. We'll get more into that as I work that project. And then I have the batting and the bag that's stored in. I will have to find backing for this when we get to this. So that's all I'm going to talk about this one for today. We'll talk more about this project when we get to that project a little bit later in the month. And then my third project is again a push project. If I don't get to this one, this is fine. This project is the remnants, that's leftover pieces from 2 other projects. And this, I feel like these scraps are too pretty to just throw away, but they're also kind of like already sewn together and not really. This I want to turn into a child's play purse, where I want to stitch this together and have it be a purse with a flap and have this be the handles that go over that or something to that effect. This, if I get to this, I will pull out the 2 other projects that got us to this point, and we'll talk about that. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but this is just absolutely scraps. This is not going to be something that comes together super smooth and fluid. This is going to look like a handmade toy for a child. This is not going to look like something that, you know, a person could go and buy somewhere or would be proud to wear out. This isn't, anyway, this is just we'll get there someday. And hopefully that someday will be this month. So those are the 3 projects I have working on. As we get to them, I will have more conversations about what that looks like and how they came to be. But right now I think that I can probably get for sure the first one, most likely the second one, and then we'll see how that third one pulls together. I will discuss that third one a little bit more at the end of the month if ultimately I don't get to it, but I think we'll get to it. So thank you for hanging out with me today. I look forward to what October brings, both budgeting wise and project wise. And I look forward to talking to you guys as we carry through. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Please have fun. Bye-bye now.